General Hospital teasers and updates hint that a seduction game is coming up on the ABC series. Flirtation at the baseball game is only the beginning. Could Sonny Corinthos charm his way out of a takedown by ADA Justine Turner? It wouldn't be the first time Sonny worked with a lawyer, or even a district attorney. Of course, everyone is aware that Christina Corinthos Davis' mother is Alexis Davis and her father is Sonny, who had a romantic relationship with a lawyer. Around 15 years ago, he had a romantic relationship with Claire Walsh, a prosecutor who, like Turner, was very career-oriented. Putting Sonny Corinthos away would have been the pinnacle of her career, but she fell for him. Sonny acknowledged to Dante Falconeri that he became engaged with Claire on the rebound. But with Turner, who may remind Sonny of Claire, the tale may be different. Could Sonny lure Turner on and romance her, charming his way out of a takedown? Who is the bigger devil in disguise, Sonny or Turner? One of the most pressing questions in this scenario is who is the bigger devil in disguise? Sonny or the undercover cop attempting to catch him off guard? One thing she may not realize is that Sonny has recently experienced a situation in which a close female friend fell for him, but he did not fall for her, so he is on guard. The scenario with Natalia Ramirez did not go well, and he is already on watch since he does not trust Turner. That covert gift of a baseball glove was a test to see how she'd react if she believed he was interested, and she sent out a lot of conflicting signals. It's a game of cat and mouse. It's a cat and mouse game, and the question is who is smarter, the cat or the mouse, as Sonny decides to leap in after testing the waters. Sonny, like Claire Walsh, isn't trying to purposefully harm Turner if she's deceived, any more than he intended to mislead Natalia. But he's taking advantage of her not-so-subtle attraction to him to get a leg up, knowing she'll use Natalia against him. If Sonny can woo Turner without making things too serious, he may be able to charm himself out of a probable prison sentence. All he has to do is keep her off balance and distracted by him, so he can divert her attention away from his businesses. Sonny Corinthos had faced a lifetime of enemies, betrayals, and difficult choices. But dealing with ADA Pamela Turner was a completely different kind of tempest. She wasn't one of his normal opponents. No frantic rival mobster attempting to take over his territory. No federal agent ecstatic about a career-making capture. Turner was intelligent, composed, and patient. She played the long game, and her only purpose was to bring Sonny down once and for all. What she hadn't anticipated was the intricacy of the man behind the reputation, and the perilous temptation of Sonny's charm wielded like a scalpel. It started with a subpoena. Nothing showy or loud, just a subtle escalation. Turner had been circling for weeks, looking for an opportunity. The RICO violations were not sticking, and the new warehouse case was bogged down by red tape. But she had discovered rumors regarding Sonny's involvement in a recent armaments transfer out of Puerto Rico, and while she lacked direct proof, she had enough circumstantial evidence to make it hurt. Sonny did not panic. He never did. However, he carefully observed her movements, noting how she showed up at his properties and chatted to those close to him under the appearance of casual inquiry. Even his bartender at the Savoy had been questioned, but Curtis had informed Sonny long before Turner's squad entered the building. She was decent but not perfect. Sonny and Turner met for the first time in a casual setting. She had sought it, citing pre-investigative questions, but Sonny viewed it as an opportunity to assess him. He arrived 5 minutes early, neatly dressed in a tailored suit, and his scent was mild yet disarming. He made every effort to present himself as a businessman rather than a mafia. And when Turner arrived, dressed professionally in a navy blazer, her eyes cold and steady, he stood and extended his hand. She paused a beat too long before shaking it, and Sonny realized she wasn't immune. Not yet persuaded, but conscious of the current between them. They seated opposite each other in a secluded conference room at the courtroom annex, and the dance began. She posed pointed inquiries. Sonny provided intelligent, purposefully cryptic responses. When he talked, he leaned in, lowering his voice just enough to enhance her focus. He smiled appropriately, never too broadly, just enough to cast doubt on her strategy. She kept her tone crisp and professional, but Sonny could see the little twitch at the corner of her mouth, the tiniest increase in her pulse when their fingers brushed, reaching for a file. Over the next week, she requested additional follow-up conversations. Not official depositions. Not a formal interview. Just clarifications. Sunny cooperated, always on time and respectful. He offered her coffee during one meeting and complimented her on her cross-examination in another case she had recently won. Nothing overt. Nothing that might be considered incorrect. Just enough charm to keep her off balance. Diane warned him. "She's not just some rookie prosecutor, Sunny," Diane Miller exclaimed, pacing in his office. "Turner is well known for her ability to avoid distractions. If you're playing a game with her, you need to know when to fold." Sunny smiled while sitting calmly at his desk. "I am not playing a game. I am providing her the opportunity to recognize she is wasting her time." Diane did not buy it. "You're seducing her." "I'm doing what I always do," he explained, making people see the truth. However, Sunny knew it was more than that. Something about Turner piqued his interest. She was not wealthy or influential. She had pushed her way into the DA's office, relying on a strong work ethic and the capacity to compartmentalize. But something in her eyes told him she wasn't always this frigid. Something buried, hidden. Sunny has seen it before in folks who had lost too much and learned to cope by never feeling. Her walls were now being tested. During their third meeting, she slid. "You always do this," she murmured, her tone sharp, yet her arms folded tightly across her chest, unsettling rather than defensive. "What do I do? You make everything seem like a discussion. Like you're simply a man I met at a coffee shop. Like this isn't a legal issue." Sunny leaned back. "That's because I'm just a guy. And this is you looking for something that does not exist. You're not just a guy, Mr. Corinthos." "No, I am not. But perhaps I am not the evil you have made me out to be." The room became quiet. For a minute, the prosecution vanished. It was just two persons looking at each other across a large, polished table. It was the first crack in her armor. She began showing up to the Savoy, supposedly to follow up on a number of unrelated matters. She always maintained her distance, as if she wasn't there for Sunny. But he noticed. She never drank. She was always aware of the exits. She observed who spoke to him and who avoided him. She did not trust easily, but she couldn't seem to stay away. Curtis mocked Sunny about it once. "You got the DA's office to do stakeouts in cocktail gowns. What are you up to?" Sunny just smirked. "She's curious. She's dangerous. They all are." However, as the conversation with Turner progressed, the tone began to alter. What started as a subtle seduction for control evolved into something murkier. Sunny found himself thinking about her at unusual times. He wondered what she did when she got home. Did she actually listen to jazz as she claimed? Did she sleep soundly, or did she lie up at night, holding a case file in one hand and a whiskey in the other? Turner, for her part, was cracking. She stopped asking challenging questions. She began falling into personal ones. Did Sunny always live in Port Charles? Has he ever regretted not leaving? Was it tough to raise children in a world filled with continual scrutiny? He responded cautiously, never giving her the opening she desired, or perhaps the one she was frightened to take. Nonetheless, her tone softened. She let him speak uninterrupted. She even laughed once, a genuine laugh, full-bodied and uninhibited. That's when Sunny realized he had her. Not entirely, not forever, but enough. Then came the twist. Nevertheless, the arrest warrant was served. Turner had not written it, yet her signature appeared on the supporting affidavit. Sunny had just gotten wind of it when the authorities arrived at his residence, handcuffed him, and brought him to central custody. It was a little accusation. Nothing serious, obstruction of justice involving a warehouse cargo from months ago. However, this was a warning shot. He made bail in less than 1 hour, of course. Diane handled things with her typical efficiency. However, the damage had been done, not to Sunny's reputation, but to the trust between him and Turner. He confronted her in her office late that night. "There's no warning." Just walked in and closed the door behind him. "You knew this was coming." She did not refute it. "It's not personal." "It should be," he remarked, moving closer. "After everything, all the meetings, all the time. Did you still decide to pull the trigger?" She would not look at him. "I did what I had to." "You did what someone told you to." Turner bristled. "I am not your puppet. I am not here to be charmed into submission. So why haven't you stopped?" "Stopped what?" looking at me like you're waiting for me to say something that changes your mind. She eventually met his stare, and the atmosphere in the room became electrifying. Her voice lowered. Because I want to think you are more than what others say. But every time I get close to believing it, you show me otherwise. Sunny stepped forward, his voice low. Then continue looking. Because maybe I'm not attempting to manipulate you. Maybe I just want you to get the full picture. And what is that? That I am not the man you have been pursuing. I am the one who has been surviving. Their gazes connected, and something burst open between them. But rather of sinking into it, she turned away. Get out, she said, her voice shaking. He did. However, the game had transformed. Turner's meticulously prepared takedown began to disintegrate after that. Witnesses stopped cooperating. One of the primary pieces of evidence, a shipment manifest allegedly linking Sunny to an illegal import, turned out to be fraudulent. Internal Affairs initiated an investigation into her aide, who was linked to a political PAC with anti-Corinthos intentions. One by one, her argument crumbled. Sunny never gloated. He never rubbed it in. He simply turned up as needed, answered questions, and maintained a respectful tone. But every time their paths crossed, he held her stare just long enough to remind her that the decision was always hers. Turner remained silent after the lawsuit was officially dismissed. She walked out of the courtroom, past the reporters, and went into her office. But that night, she showed up at Pozzolo's. She wore a basic black coat. Her hair was pulled back. No makeup. No badge. It's just her. Sunny noticed her the instant she went inside. The room was quiet. There is no staff and no customers. He was drinking espresso at the rear booth. She came over and sat down without asking. I lost, she stated bluntly. Sunny shakes his head. You did not lose. You just found out the truth. I let you in. He sipped his beverage. You did. But you did not let me win. Turner stared at him, and for the first time there was no hatred in her eyes, only perplexity. What was the goal of it all? Why not shut me down from the start? I don't want enemies who don't understand me. I need people to see me clearly. What do you see when you look at me? He smiled. Someone who's still deciding whether she wants justice or revenge. Silence loomed thick between them. Turner finally stood. This doesn't mean we're done. Sunny nodded. I hope not. She went without saying anything else. Weeks have passed. The charges dissipated. Turner was moved to a unit with less political pressure. She stopped coming around. Sunny would occasionally get a sight of her, at the courthouse, in a cafe, or on the docks. And every time she looked his way. No words. No promises. Just the lingering residue of a game neither of them wanted to stop. According to General Hospital spoilers, Lulu Spencer has crossed the line in her unrelenting pursuit of learning the truth about Brooke Lynn Quartermain's teen pregnancy. She blew Giovanni Gio Palmieri's genuine paternity out of the water and caused a slew of problems along the way. Now BLQ is working on exposing Lulu's secret about Rocco Falconeri and how he came into this world when Britt Westbourne stole her embryo and pregnant herself. But will Brooke Lynn's revenge strategy backfire? What is the point, really? According to General Hospital spoilers, Brooke Lynn's heart broke in two this week when she witnessed her son Gio joke around with Lulu in the Metro court pool. While Lulu revealed his adoption secret, he has no anger against her. Rather, he is keeping it for BLQ. Brooke Lynn's intention with the Rocco secret appears to be an eye for an eye, yet most people are aware of what transpired and how Rocco came to be. If Lulu and Dante Falconeri never told Rocco, it wasn't out of malice. Rather, they probably wanted to forget all the time they had with their little child, from the happy pregnancy times to his delivery and all his infant firsts. Will Rocco be furious with Lulu if and when he discovers the truth, or will he be upset with BLQ for provoking unnecessary drama? Harrison Chase's disappointment. BLQ has done a complete 180 in recent years and has worked really hard to change. Falling in love with Harrison Chase played a significant role in her development. One of the obstacles in their courtship early on was BLQ's lies and deception, so if he discovers what she's been up to, it could cause problems in her marriage. Especially given that he was so excellent about keeping her adoption secret and sticking by her side, even from his best buddy Dante. Furthermore, Gio will be upset when Rocco discovers the truth, especially if Rocco is horrified by it all. If Gio discovers that BLQ was in charge of everything, he and Brooklyn may grow apart even further. Furthermore, Dante will be extremely dissatisfied by Brooklyn's behavior. So what precisely is Brooklyn's end goal here? Brooklyn Quartermain had always prided herself on her intelligence, confidence, and ability to charm her way into, or out of, any situation. She was a Quartermain after all. With a combination of legacy and grit, she never shied away from confrontation, especially when it came to individuals she cared about. However, in recent months, Brooklyn's world had begun to shift. Her relationship with Harrison Chase was stable, deception was regaining traction, and for the first time in a long time she felt like her life was in order. Nonetheless, something gnawed at her constantly. Something messy and unresolved that kept seeping into her mind. That something was Lulu Spencer. More especially, Lulu's impending homecoming and the implications for Brooklyn's status in Rocco's life. Brooklyn and Rocco had become close during Lulu's absence. What began as occasional babysitting or assistance at family gatherings gradually blossomed into a friendship that resembled something deeper, parental. It wasn't her objective at first. BLQ's life was already complicated, but Rocco was struggling. Dante had done his best, but being a single father with a hard profession created gaps. Brooklyn had stepped in because it felt natural and easy, but somewhere along the way it became emotional. Rocco needed her, and she began to feel a need for him as well. But the whispers about Lulu's recovery had resumed, this time louder and more forceful. The WSB clinic overseas had kept quiet, but a nurse's slip encouraged speculation that Lulu had recovered consciousness. Dante had not verified anything, but Brooklyn could see it in his eyes. He was hopeful, and it scared her more than she wanted to admit. She didn't resent Lulu, not really. But the notion of Lulu strolling back into Port Charles and regaining all she had left behind filled Brooklyn with anxiety and hatred that she didn't know how to deal with. It wasn't about jealousy, she assured herself. It was about Rocco. About stability. Regarding how fragile everything was. BLQ had witnessed the effects of inconsistency on a youngster and had experienced it firsthand. If Lulu returned, it would upend Rocco's world. And perhaps Brooklyn wasn't ready to let go of the one link that made her feel like more than just Quartermain, a businesswoman or a girlfriend. So she made an error. A large one. It began with a seemingly simple talk with Rocco. They were at the park sitting on a bench with ice cream when he asked about his mother. He hadn't done it in a long time and not directly. BLQ felt an unusual tightening in her chest. She responded carefully and vaguely. She assured him that his mother was being cared for, and that she was still recovering. But he persisted. He wanted to know if she would ever return. That's when Brooklyn said it. Words she hadn't planned or thought about. She might not remember you when she wakes up. Rocco's face wrinkled. His small fist squeezed around his cone, and it began to melt down his wrist. BLQ panicked and attempted to backtrack, but the harm had been done. He asked additional questions, and in her misguided attempt to soften the shock, she said things that made it worse, implying that Lulu might not want to come back, or that she might be too confused to be his mother again. None of it was malevolent. She did not set out to hurt Rocco's feelings, but the implication stuck. Over the next week, Rocco became more withdrawn. Dante noticed it right away. At first, he blamed it on school stress or the awkward limbo of being a tween with questions no one could truly answer. But then Rocco began making comments about how he didn't want his mother to return, how he was afraid she'd forget him or worse, try to take him away from the people he knew. Dante brought it up with Brooklyn one night after dinner, speaking calmly but strongly. What exactly were you saying to him? BLQ became stiff. There's nothing bad. We simply talked. He inquired about Lulu and I responded as honestly as I could. Dante narrowed his gaze. Would you rather be honest or protective? She didn't respond. Dante raked his hand through his hair, clearly annoyed. I understand you care for him. I sincerely appreciate everything you've done for Rocco. But you are not his mother, Brooklyn. And I can't let him get terrified of things that aren't real. That stung more than she admitted. Not his mother. The words echoed long after the conversation had ended. Later that week, things heated up when Rocco got into a fight with another student at school. The other kid made a remark about his coma mom coming back to steal his dad, and Rocco retaliated, shoving the boy and earning himself a call home. Dante was furious not only about the brawl but also about the talk that had clearly taken place someplace. The school counselor said that Rocco had been anxious about his family, specifically that he may be sent away or that his mother would no longer love him. Brooke Lynn's name appeared more than once. Dante faced her again, but with less restraint. "You're messing with his head," he exclaimed harshly. "I don't know if you're doing it intentionally or not, but you've crossed the line." Brooke Lynn fired back. "You abandoned me in his life like this. You relied on me. And now I'm supposed to back off because Lulu may open her eyes? This isn't about you," Dante shouted. "It is about him. He is a youngster. He does not need fear and uncertainty in his brain. He needs the truth. And the truth is that his mother is struggling to get back with him. And if she does, he should be ready for it." That night, Brooke Lynn went home and cried. She did not even tell Chase what had transpired. She wasn't prepared. The guilt weighed heavily. She stopped being a support figure and began acting as if she belonged in that area. Perhaps she wanted to belong too much. Perhaps she thought love was enough to justify remaining in a role that was not hers. But fate was not finished unraveling everything. 2 days later, word spread that Lulu had opened her eyes. The town was alive with emotion. Laura was overwhelmed. Dante was cautiously optimistic, and Maxie sobbed openly in front of Anna when she learned. Everyone hoped that Lulu would make a full recovery, not just physically but also mentally. Brooke Lynn suddenly became an afterthought. She was not a part of those chats. She wasn't by Laura's side. She was not in the group text or the hospital waiting room. She was outside again, this time peering in. She went to see Rocco, but Dante gently advised her that it might be best to give him room. Laura preferred to talk to him alone. Maxie did as well. So did the Spencers. Brooke Lynn, for all her efforts, was not family. Not really. Chase attempted to soothe her, but BLQ withdrew. Her confidence crumbled, and her emotions became a minefield. For her, the line between right and wrong had become blurred, and the repercussions were all too real. When she eventually encountered Lulu in person, it was not a pleasant reunion. Brooke Lynn went to the hospital with a bunch of flowers, determined to do the right thing. She entered the room, pulse beating and words rehearsed. But when Lulu spotted her, the air altered. Lulu's look was delicate and reserved. "Brooke Lynn." "Hey," BLQ murmured softly. "I'm so glad you're awake." Lulu smiled slightly. "Thanks. I've heard a lot about everything." There was a prolonged pause. "I didn't mean to make things complicated," Brooke Lynn explained. I didn't know how to stop caring." "I know you didn't," Lulu said. "But Rocco's been scared, and I need to understand why." Brooke Lynn's eyes were filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt him." "But you did." The truth ached. Not nasty or accusatory, just true. "I'll fix it," Brooke Lynn whispered. Lulu nodded slowly. "I hope so. For his sake." Brooke Lynn left the hospital that day knowing she needed to find her way back. Not only to Rocco but also to herself. She apologized to Dante. She apologized to Rocco, who sobbed but forgave her, clinging to her like a toddler who couldn't comprehend why things had to change. Lulu would eventually recover her space. She planned to reconstruct her life piece by piece. And Brooke Lynn would take a step back, not as punishment but as a sign of respect. She'd still be there in Rocco's life, but not as a mother figure. She had overstepped, and the only way to fix what she had done was to be open about it. BLQ traveled a long path to redemption. She volunteered at the hospital's pediatric wing. She worked for family services. She did it not for accolades, but to remember what it meant to be trusted again. And maybe one day when Rocco looks back, he won't remember the confusion and dread. Maybe he'd remember that someone loved him enough to stay, even if it hurt. Brooke Lynn wished so, because she aspired to be that kind of lady. General Hospital spoilers hint that Willow Tate and Scout Kane may be bonding soon, but it might go horribly wrong. Will Drew Kane's idea be an utter disaster? We know that Cosette Abinante has taped further scenes, which will air in the near future. Scout has been strangely absent from recent family dramas, but this appears to be poised to change. Willow had been really upset at being separated from Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Willow was deeply shaken by the loss of custody. Drew is determined to do everything he can to help Willow reunite with her children, so they are arranging a wedding in the hopes of presenting themselves as a solid couple in court. Drew, on the other hand, may come up with a solution to assist Willow in the interim. Since Willow will soon be Scout's stepmother, Drew may decide they should spend more time bonding. Drew may believe that if Willow feels helpful as a mother figure again, it will help to relieve her heartache. Scout has struggled without Sam McCall, so Drew sees increasing her bond with Willow as a win-win situation. Of course, such a suggestion has the potential to be disastrous. Willow's mental state isn't great these days, so there's no telling what she'll do in front of Scout. Willow might have a tantrum if something provokes her, so Scout may have a front row seat. If this is a dissociative identity disorder plot, Scout may see Willow black out and adopt another personality. Willow's mental health may also deteriorate, causing her to get confused and mistake Scout for Amelia. That could lead to Willow fleeing with Scout, leaving Drew to frantically seek for them both. Regardless, Scout may become panicked as a result of Willow's experience and seek comfort from Drew. In other words, if some of Cosette Abinante's next GH scenes feature Scout and Willow bonding, bad news could be on the horizon. According to General Hospital teasers, Drew will have to deal with more family drama, so stay tuned for updates on any surprises. Drew Kane had always thought that family relationships could heal even the most shattered lives. Since returning to Port Charles and reuniting with Scout, he had worked relentlessly to repair the damage caused by time and distance. He did not take fatherhood lightly, and even though he knew he would never be able to relive Scout's early years, he was determined to make the most of what was ahead. So when the idea came to him to plan a special bonding day for Scout and Willow, he was confident he'd come up with something important, a gesture that would benefit everyone. Willow had faced her own set of challenges, from cancer diagnosis and transplant to emotional fallout with Nina, and everything that comes with being a mother. Throughout it all, she remained incredibly nurturing, even when she had little more to give. Drew had witnessed firsthand how gentle she was with Wiley and Amelia, and he believed that giving Scout the opportunity to spend time with someone like Willow would do wonders for her sense of belonging. It was no longer only about family links. Instead, it was about healing via connection. The plan was straightforward. Drew would take a break for the afternoon, while Willow and Scout enjoyed the day together at the Courtemain estate. Olivia had arranged for a baking session in the great kitchen, followed by a movie and picnic-style dinner in the garden. Drew hoped that the healthy, slow-paced day would provide Scout and Willow with a respite from their lives' problems. What might go wrong? Willow had initially been apprehensive. She adored Scout and had bonded with her in small, casual moments at family events, but for an entire day? That seemed like a different type of obligation. Willow couldn't say no when Drew asked, his eyes bright with anticipation that this would bring the family closer together. She wanted to help, and if it would help Scout feel more grounded, she was willing to try. At first, everything went exactly as Drew had planned. Willow welcomed Scout at the door with a friendly grin, wearing a casual sundress with her hair tied back and a calm mood. Scout glanced up at her with a mix of curiosity and reserve, not knowing what to expect. She had been assured that they would be spending time together, but the specifics had not been revealed. Willow knelt at Scout's level. "We are going to have a girls' day, just us. Baking, movies, and snacks. How does that sound?" Scout made a bashful nod. "Okay. I enjoy brownies. Well, we should prepare a large batch, just in case we finish them all before dinner." Scout gave a little smile, and the ice started to melt. The first hour went in peaceful concord. Olivia had previously prepared the ingredients, and Willow walked Scout through the baking process, allowing her to do the most of the stirring and pouring. There were a few flour spills, sugar on the floor, and occasional giggles, and Willow was relieved to watch Scout gradually open up. She inquired about school and her friends, and Scout responded in brief but honest words. However, when the subject turned to families, the shift began. Scout, wiping chocolate off her fingers, inquired innocently, "Did you always want to be a mother?" Willow grinned thoughtfully. "Yes. I always knew I wanted children. I was worried for long that I wouldn't have the chance." Scout nodded and glanced down at the floor. "I miss my mother occasionally. The real one."